Phasmophobia? You mean that psychological horror-based game where you gotta decipher some ghosts? Okay, well, from what I could gather, the base premise of this game is that you and 3 other people investigate houses to figure out what type of ghosts are lurking about. You'll use all sorts of different tools to your arsenal to drive and pinpoint what ghosts they are, from using notebooks to night cameras and even using voice boxes. Use these items and more to decipher what ghost type it is before they figure it out for themselves. Well, with that being said, let's get into the good and the bad points of this game. So scary. Alright, let me chill. Well, the story for Phasmophobia is none. There is not a story here. However, that didn't stop people from coming up with their own ideas, as some people online were saying that you and your crew are basically ghost investigators who figure out what ghost type it is, so that way some random ghostbusters can come in and take it down. But see, the problem with that is that you kind of run to a problem of well, if you got the ghost type wrong, then those ghostbusters would have prepped for a whole different ghost type, you know what I mean? So all I'm gonna simply say is that I think, from what my story perspective type of headcanon would be, is that y'all are some ghost detective trainees who are running simulation-based tests by your affiliated organization to see how well y'all fare against a random ghost. The more you and your crew run these tests, the more data and results keep coming in. And so, as a thanks, they'll give you a payout for your efforts. All of this to simply say that there is no story. Alright, there's literally no story. But you can come up with your own theories as to what it can be. Alright, now let's get into the gameplay. This game has a lot of items to use, and all of them are extremely important. A massive example of this is something like salt, because if a ghost passes through it and there's footprints, then that's evidence that can be used to your advantage. Or even bringing something like a thermometer, as sometimes you'll see your breath. And if that's the case, then it's recommended to get, a thermometer to see if it's below freezing. If it's 1 Celsius, or for my Fahrenheit people, 33 degrees Fahrenheit, then you better jot that down, because that's evidence that can be used to further your examination on what ghost type it could be. Now keep this in mind, a little minor mentions that not all evidence is set. Does not mean that all of it is true, as sometimes, just because you see your breath, doesn't mean that it's always below freezing temperatures. It used to be the case, but logically speaking, seeing cold breath doesn't mean below freezing temps. From where I'm from, you could be 55 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can still see your cold breath of temperatures. Just because you see your breath doesn't mean that's below freezing. Know what I mean? Speaking on that whole thermometer point, there's 3 different tiers for each item in the game, with tier 3 obviously being the max. The higher the tier, the better the item. An example I can have, or that comes to mind immediately, is the thermometer. Okay, so tier 1's thermometer speed. In reading, the accuracy of degrees and whatnot is really slow. Like a thermometer speed and trying to get the most accurate temperature, really slow. With it updating at a rate of 0.33 Celsius per second. Whereas tier 2, when inside of a room and being used, will read the exact temperatures in 2.5 seconds. And tier 3 is an even faster read, with it giving it out a read of 1.5 seconds. Now speaking on that whole tier thing, I'm gonna let you know this, alright? Just because the tiers are better and better doesn't mean that the first tier is necessarily bad, alright? Hear me out. So, tier 2 and tier 3's temperature readers, their thermometers, are electrical readings. And some ghosts can actually mess with the wirings of the tier 2s and tier 3s and make them all out of whack and not being able to be used for a certain amount of time. Like certain electrical items some ghosts can actually mess with. So having the tier 1 temperature, just it being literally an alcohol reader being thrown into a room and letting it try to read up and down actually can be beneficial if you know what ghost type that you're running against that messes with electrical currents. So, to simply put, no, just because the tier is higher doesn't mean that it's always the best in all circumstances, or in all cases. Now, just like Repo, this game also has a single player mode. And though it's recommended with friends, I'd honestly would try out playing this game by yourself just for a few games, right? After tutorial, just to kind of get a feel on what you might be up against, alright? As me personally, I'm not a big fan of hand-holding all the way through. Alright, when it comes down to these multiplayer games, I'm not a big fan of hand-holding. But that does not mean I will not take your advice, alright? I will still follow. I will still listen and do the best to my ability to play the game. Okay, and a little pro tip about single player. When you're playing the game, or really just in general, you want to get all your gear to the front of the door, okay? As the prep time only starts when you walk inside the house. So just make sure to grab all the items, cameras, whatnot, scoobity-boo, and then leave it all in the front of the door. Then once y'all are all ready, go ahead inside the house, and then the timer will start so that way you can set up before the ghost starts enacting on its plans. Oh, and one little last minor mention about the gameplay thing is if you're on some downtime or you're just waiting for your friends, you just want to chill out and not get hit with all the ghost-a-palooza, there's some games upstairs for you to play, like basketball, Jenga, and bowling. And if you probably don't want to play those, you can at least admire your accomplishments through the trophy case that's located downstairs. Phasmophobia has a lot of maps, ranging from small, medium, and large base maps. Note, whatever maps you choose will not affect the type of ghosts you'll run into. All of them are random, alright? And when I'm talking about large maps, I'm referring it to being a whole school for you and your friends to explore. And I absolutely love it. But by having bigger maps means more spots for the ghost to be. So if you're not a big fan of having, to explore something like this, then that's why they made smaller sized maps. Primarily for single player people, noobs, well, maybe not necessarily noobs, but if you just kind of want to keep things more compact with only a few rooms, then it's best recommended to do this. As the payout in the end, regardless of wherever it is, all is still the same, just a different map design and a map different change. Not a problem with that, but just letting you know so you don't kind of get pressured into thinking that by you going to a bigger map is going to reward you with a whole bunch more money. It's just a stage design thing. It's not a gameplay, jet set, you gotta do this type of thing. Now, while the game doesn't have music, it makes up for it in immersion with the ambience of the area. What I mean by this is that it's pure, unadulterated silence from the neighborhood as you're setting up traps for the ghosts. You can also get audio clips from said ghosts, as people like banshees will let out that loud screech.
Oh, that's wild. I heard it.
Are you gonna go out the back?
Okay. Now that is indeed scary.
But Swag Bro, you literally just complained in the last video on Repo that you dislike that kind of stuff, as it's a cheap way to startle people, just giving a good fright and a good scare by simply changing a frame too fast. Isn't that a little hypocritical?
Okay. Look, bro, I want to make this abundantly clear that it's not just me hating on FNAF and that's what they do, alright? In this game, it actually makes sense, alright? Because banshees scream really loudly. That's what they do. And it makes sense in game to hear the scream, as it shows and implies the level of fear in knowing that this ghost means business and wants you dead, alright? By any means necessary. So games that do it like this get a pass. But again, that's why FNAF can't be compared to something like this, Andrew. But right now I'm going to take a quick little break. I will simply be right back. Alright, guess it's time to go see a man about a horse. It worked. I can finally step out now. Wow, I can't believe he actually upheld his bargain, his end of the bargain, by letting me just walk out here and leave to go to the bathroom. Oh, really? That's how you use my generosity. You take this opportunity of being able to relieve yourself to try and flee.
It was worth a shot, I guess.
Look, man. Can you at least explain to me why you're doing all this? All right. I know you got a lot of questions. Listen, Mr. Probosis, if you keep up these reviews, I'll explain what's the up and up. As, honestly, I don't think you'll complete all 5 of these reviews this month. I mean, in fact, I'm even more surprised you even made a second one this fast. Well, you know what they say. They don't call me Adaptable Bro 87 for nothing. Bro, no one calls you that. That is straight up delusion. Shut up. Man, is this game great or what? The suspense on not knowing what ghost it could be due to the surplus amount of 24 possible different ghosts to choose from that all differ from each other in playstyle, to the very helpful teammates who basically have this game locked down to a T, and even fun little mini games like Jenga and bowling to pass the time. Phasmophobia, indeed, did and does deserve its high praise and regards despite its looks. But, like all games, there is some stuff that falls a little short in the grand scheme of things. My starting issue with this game? Easy, the tutorial. When you first start off, it's best recommended by the game and myself, usually to go into tutorials and do all that, because for my fed leftovers or fed L's out there, you'll be really lost on what to do and will lead to your demise, and then you'll get mad at the game and be like, oh, I'm so mad, this game is stupid, when the game clearly and explicitly wants you to go to a tutorial so that way you can learn on the mechanics and gameplay stuff that you're going to be somewhat experiencing within the future. So don't be like a Fed L's is what I'm trying to simply say. Now, I will say that the tutorial is relatively straightforward, but there's some parts where the wording is a bit weird. For example, I did not know what a use button was. Like, they just kind of said, press the use button in order to set down your journal. I didn't know what that was, since the game didn't explain that. And I know there's going to be that one person who's going to say when hearing all this,
Well, maybe you checked those sticky notes all over the board and decided to read for once, then you would have seen it. Blah, 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 blah. Nim, 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 nim.
And fine. I'll give you that. All right, you know what I'm saying? I'll give you that. All right, I will. But then tell me, on segments like this, where I have to use a talk box in order to talk to the ghost, all right? And in order to do so, it needs to be dark in both rooms. But the game doesn't tell you, that it has to be dark in both rooms. So you'd think it was just in this room that I'm currently in, right? Like, okay, it's just a dark room, in just this one room. I'm just gonna go talk to this ghost. But it's not, all right? It's not. You have to flip this light switch that's placed so weirdly on the door frame that on your first playthrough, you probably wouldn't even see it. It just passes you by. You'll just pass through that door frame every single time. You won't even see that light switch. And I notice some people are gonna be like, oh, he's also. But like off rip, when you're just mainly playing the game for the first time, you don't see that stuff. Overall, the tutorial is not bad, but don't feel too bad if you didn't get something from the tutorial, as the wording is just a bit weird. Just like Repo, the game is better with multiplayer in this multiplayer-based game, because in single player, you have to do everything by yourself, which, is the point of playing by yourself. Whoa. But in a group effort, things get done way quicker, because when I tell you that people know this game like the back of their hand, they really know it like the back of their hand.
I don't like how far we are
Do you
from
know
the
any
front
of
door.
the backstory for this map?
No. Did not know there was a story in this game.
The one of the
Why should it have been right in the
for
front
the
the whole
ghosts, the one with the long black hair,
Oh,
like
found orb.
the teenage girl.
Found the
There was a
room.
patient here, and you can actually
Yep.
find her body, but that room was the room that she was trapped in.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to simply hear all this and see all this and just say that I'm simply piggybacking on people's hard work. And that's not the case. And since there's 24 literal ghosts, and all of them do something completely different, the tutorial does not show you what ghost types to look for, or at least probably gives you a demonstration on what they might do. So a bunch of the experimentation on what ghosts could do just happens, you don't know what happened, you died, and that's it. But again, for a novice like yourself, it's heavily encouraged that you play with these other people, as the game is more community based with this sort of stuff. What I'm trying to simply say is, yes, you could play your single player, but again, don't feel too bad if you don't know what at all is going on, because the game does not really kind of give you the best explanation on what to do. And granted, I'm not going to do the nerd impression, but basically just saying, yes, I know that in the journal, whenever you boot it up, the game will let you know a little bit of a description on what the ghost types are and what they do and all this other stuff. But again, you've never seen this actually happen. So whenever you go into these games and stuff, and you're just trying to figure out what's going on, and people are like, well, you don't know what's going on? No, all I know is what's being told by wordage, not by sight. All I know is what this book tells me, not what's actually happening on screen. A minor point I have is that when you die, you'll lose 50% of profits that you would have earned while playing that mission, which is pretty lame, but understandable. However, what isn't though is the fact that the gear you went with into this place will be lost if you die, so you have to re-buy it again. That's all fine and dandy, okay? Where's the problem? Where's the problem? Here's the problem. It's when you realize that you're flat broke and you can't afford nothing because you're new. And I know that the beginner and intermediate difficulties make it that sometimes you'll get your stuff back. But maybe that wouldn't have been the case if the tutorial gave me at least one ghost to work with and know what's up. Dang this game, man. Sometimes. Another minor mention that really annoyed me is the fact that if the team figures out what the ghost is and then leaves, but you didn't circle it despite crossing out the boxes, pretty much leaving the only ghost that the game explicitly leaves for you to possibly pick, you'll lose out on all the precious money as well. So no, just because you cross out the box and stuff, you still have to circle it. And if you don't, you lose out on all the precious money that you've gotten during said mission, which is lame. And again, I know you're supposed to circle the ghost, and that's kind of how it's supposed to be. But seriously, there's going to be some people, just in general, who won't be talking in chat because they'll be all in Discords and they won't tell you this stuff. This is why I'm saying that, queuing up with random people is kind of a risk, kind of weird-esque sort of take, and it's to be expected with multiplayer games. But again, we're under the impression that we're a new person, we do all this, we figure it out, we even cross out the boxes, and then you die, nobody says anything, and then they just leave. It's just dang. Well, I just kind of wasted my money and my time. That was kind of dumb. Structurally, my only thing that I could say is that I wish that there were more bigger maps. Like the school. I thought that was pretty cool, being lost in these big, gigantuous buildings and seeing what's more below the school, right? There's a basement and all that stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. I hope that in the future they can maybe make even bigger scaled stuff army bases or something like that. I think that being able to explore all these big, gigantuous, humongous spaces is really, really neat. And lastly, to end all of this off, I just wish that there was some music for Phasmophobia that wasn't just the anniversary tracks, as I feel that some rooms and scenes could be amplified heavily with a music score. During when the ghosts are on the move, or when starting the van, it could probably play some menu music type of stuff, right? Just something like that. But you don't have to take my verbatim for that. That's just me giving some genuine recommendations. Now, this is going to be my little final note on what I pretty much got to say about the game, alright? So, what I could kind of basically just kind of summarize, compile-ish, is that I genuinely do like Phasmophobia. I know it's gotten rewards and awards and stuff like that, and I genuinely do think it does deserve its awards and rewards. 24 ghosts is a lot of ghosts, alright, that can all do different things and have different movesets, different abilities and stuff that they just do. That is awesome, alright? The people in this game are also really cool too. Even if the moment that they touch the grass, they immediately know what ghost it is or lick the air. I still genuinely do think that playing with these people, talking with these people, interacting with these people is also a cool plus bonus too. I also like the gear that you're able to get. I also like that tier 1, 2, and 3, despite them being higher tiers, that even though tier 1 is objectively just not that good, you're still able to use it regardless. Like the temperature thing saying that tier 1, though it's not electrical, it can do all that. If tier 2 and 3 gets hit with like an electrical outage, you know, it's gone for a little bit. But tier 1 still gets used indefinitely until it's over. It's slower, but it's more reliable, if you know what I mean. I like that, right? I like that. I don't like that, you know, the prices and stuff like that can get, you know, you die, then you lose like 50% of your HP or 50% of your pay. I think that's pretty lame. I also generally do think that like the tutorial, it needs a little bit working on some wordage. And I know you're talking about the sticky notes and stuff like that, but there's just some stuff that's just not really like conveyed and explained well enough to you for you to really understand all the way through. I feel like if they can kind of like maybe fix a few of those issues and stuff like that, then definitely, I mean, obviously it's still a good game. It's still a good game, great game. Definitely would rate like an 8 out of 10. You know, it's a good game. But I would just love for a few more tweaks like that to really kind of give it that great enough score. And so, with all of that being said, my final rating for this game is an Audio Pro mic out of 10. Subscribble. Thank you all so much for watching, as I've been a bit busy last week, mainly helping out with people, churches, whatnot, you know, all that. But I think we should be back for a little bit, you know, that's what I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to do. Currently, right now, I'm trying to work on Fire Emblem Shadows, you know, due to that whole screen recording on the iOS and having Windows 11. I've been trying to find an emulator to get on here. Has been really annoying, so I'm just gonna have to record straight from my phone. I have like, you know, USB to type lightnings and all that stuff, but it's just not really appearing on my screen. If y'all know what's up, please let me know so that way I can kind of stream that and record it. Brain Dead 13 though, however, is already done. I fully completed the game. I already got the script written down, and that's all good. But I'm trying to keep these vids, you know, in a order sort of manner. So please bear that in mind when I'm trying to go forward with this. Alright? Support the channel. And this is SwaggView87, trying to find all those 24 ghosts without having to lick the ground one time to know what's up. Saying to beware and take care. Jeez.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Let's go. Oh my god.
I was way too risky there.
Turn around on me.
No, I'm liberal. I'm liberal.
On the other side.
Alright. This entire time I was
You
just
got
new.
lucky. The ghost got stuck on the table when you were looping it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm the one that's oh my goodness. Oh no, we are both dead.
Yeah.
Well,
You could talk to me.
excuse me, Prince. Okay, look.
You-
Look. You were answering a little too conveniently. Alright, I was sitting here kind of nervous. I was like, what is she talking about? I was like, did she hear me? I was like, whoa, what happened?
No, it's me.
Yeah.
I write with you. Every time it's you and me. Because we ain't scared of the ghosts. It's you and me. I need them to move the camera to the other tent next door. It's not at that tent. Sorry, I didn't mean to back out.
Oh no, it's fine. I was just doing something else.
I was trying to get off the board, but I accidentally...
Nah, I kind of thought it was a little funny because the dude was like, is anybody there? And you're like, hi. He just left. I was like,
said
dang, man. All right.
I was like, hi. Dip, gone. I like the dedication. You know, I'm happy.
Mm.
Not
No, I'm just not nodding along. It's just like yeah. But it just comes out like I didn't think the game would actually be this
Entertaining?
Yeah. I mean, like, 'cause again, I mainly play with just my friends when we'd like just goof off and stuff.
Well, you got a new friend now.
Yeah.
I got the scream, let's go.
Yep. Yes, I want to hear it. I sent you a request.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, I got it.
Yay.
I got you guys.
Wait, you got one too? What's yours, Swag?
Just SwaggBirdie7. Literally that on all my stuff.
Wow.
What was that? Okay, Young's still over here. You're like, oh, it's for Scylla. It's like, oh, yeah, Swag Bro. It's all around. Okay. All right, cool.
I mean,
No, I get it, but like,
mine is Kai. So. Yeah, what is a swag, bro? Oh my god.
I made it
You're
when I was.
giving you graduated high school in like
I was
No,
gonna say
for real.
2015.
Bro, no. I actually
Bad.
graduated in 2022. But like, I had made that user when I was like in.
I graduated 2018.
Oh my goodness,
Oh my
we got some
God,
aunts. We got some aunts out here.
2013.
That's crazy. Respect your elders, please.
No,
Thank
I'm
you.
not. You're not that much.
What's up with it, swag, bro? 87. What's 87 is not even
That's
relevant.
very-
It's not, but I was thinking of something dumb. Alright, I was in the 4th grade. Alright, I needed a Balloons Tower Defense account. Alright, I'm gonna say I'd have to go to. I gotta fix something on my car. It's a headlight.
You gotta go be productive.
Hey, yeah, just a little bit. I mean, kind of live out here, trying to make sure to get some stuff for this game. Really like it a lot. But it was great seeing y'all and playing with y'all. And I definitely will play it later on or whenever y'all feel like.
Duh.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for the hunt.
Oh yeah, no problem, dude.